Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Mr. H on YouTube, and today we'll be talking about German armament. But before we begin, go ahead and hit that bell button, like and subscribe. I'm hoping that by the end of this week we can get up to 60 subscribers. So if you haven't already joined all the fun and all of my dosed tones, go ahead and like and subscribe. But let's get into German rearmament. German rearmament really begins with the conquering or reoccupation of the Rhineland. The Rhineland was an area of western Germany in which the French forces had occupied post World War I. This was supposed to be a temporary arrangement. However, one of the policies of Hitler and the Nazi Party upon their election was to begin sending soldiers into the Rhineland in order to re up military production. Rhineland was home to coal and fuel depots as well as manufacturing. Alongside this, another thing that led to Hitler's determination for rearmament was the another aspect that allowed Hitler to continue his rearmament was the lack of response on the international front when it came to the attack on Ethiopia from Italy. Now, what had happened was Mussolini had looked to expand and he was looking for a weak target. The one of the few remaining non-imperialized African nations was Ethiopia. The quick attack by Mussolini and the lack of response or condemnation by the other Western powers allowed Hitler to see that it was possible. In fact, it was more than possible for him to begin his conquests of Europe. What showed was that the Western powers were not going to respond in a decisive action. This, of course, leads to further expansion. However, at first it was not militarily. The first big expansion by Germany was the Anschluss. This was the annexation of Austria by German forces, which united both Austria and Germany. Austria had, for the majority of its time, wanted to be part of Germany as a large German empire, and this idea of Grossdeutschland took an even larger tone after World War One, when the Allied powers refused Austria's request to join Germany. Hitler, being born Austrian, was determined to unite German speaking peoples, and Austria was brought into the fold. Now, this is not where Hitler stops. He continuously looks for other German speakers and lands on the Sudetenland. The Sudetenland is an area around Czechoslovakia that borders with Germany, and this is an area of German speakers as well as German towns that were the result of Czechoslovakia's formation after World War I. Hitler began a military buildup in order to conquer this area. He was intervened, however, but not militarily. Diplomatic intervention took place when the Allied forces, including Great Britain and France, convinced Hitler to come to a conference in Munich. There, Hitler, the dictator of Germany, Mussolini, the dictator of Italy, sat down with France and Great Britain, led by Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain. There, Chamberlain was able to convince Hitler to halt his expansion and accept a small section of the Sudetenland. Hitler was to make a promise. He would get the Sudetenland, but he would make no further territorial conquest. Of course, Hitler, seeing for what this was, readily agreed. He got everything that he wanted and didn't have to sacrifice anything. This concept of allowing Hitler for his territorial expansion is known as appeasement. It's where the Allies believed the best course of action was to let Hitler get what he wanted, but that he would at least honor his word and end his territorial ambitions. Well, if you know anything about toddlers or children, you know that It's highly unlikely for them to stop once you've given them something without putting up a fight. And indeed, Hitler would not stop. Chamberlain left the Munich conference and flew back to England. Leaving the plane, he held aloft the Munich Agreement and declared to his people this was peace in our time. And indeed, Chamberlain had achieved peace between England and Germany. Of course, the peace would only last for another 12 months. Hitler was undeterred by the Munich Agreement and began to look for another target of expansion. And this, of course, led to his eyes being set on Poland in the beginning of World War II. But what do you think? Do you agree with appeasement? Do you think that the Allies truly could have stopped Hitler? Comment below with questions and comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later. Occupation of the Ethiopian kingdom.